Hi honeybees! Today I'm going to be talking all about my experience working at Sephora and some tips on how you can possibly get a job at Sephora. So first off, I just want to say it's going to be a very relaxed, chill video. It's kind of like a story time video. It's my very first story time video. I'm like in really comfortable clothes. Besides the Bam lip that I got on, this is Melted Strawberry from Too Faced. I don't have a ton of makeup on, but I just wanted to chit chat with you guys, and I know a lot of you over the years have asked me about my experience with Sephora. Did I like working there? What did I not like? Why did I quit? What are some tips on getting into Sephora? Because it's not easy to get hired by Sephora. Now, my experience is all within a stand-alone, like in the mall store. It's not within JCPenney. Sephora inside JCPenney is very different and it's not the same. So if you're going to be working inside JCPenney or you're trying to get a job, keep in mind I did work at a Sephora within a mall. It was its own store. And also before we get started, I just want to say that I don't mean any offense to Sephora or anyone that I worked with. This is just my honest opinion that I'm sharing with you, giving some feedback. So hopefully if you're thinking about working at Sephora, you can get a kind of different view. So before I started working at Sephora, I used to shop at Ulta, Sephora, anywhere I could find makeup. I was makeup obsessed, I still am. And I was kind of just starting out YouTube at the time. And this was about 4 years ago. I worked for Sephora for a little over 2.5 years. And it actually felt like more. Because when you work retail, it feels like you've been working there forever, no matter how long you've been working there. And it was my first experience working retail. Oh, that's not true. I worked at Build-A-Bear for my very first job when I was 14. Does that count as retail? I don't feel like it was the same, but I don't know. You can weigh that and say, this is like my first real experience with retail. So I was very lucky and kind of just fell upon an opportunity at Sephora. I had no job at the time. I was just in between jobs. I was looking for a good job, but I really wanted something that would either help me with YouTube and kind of support that. I wanted to do something in makeup. I was not a makeup artist whatsoever. I was self-taught. So you do not have to be a makeup artist to start working at Sephora is one thing I want to say, because that's a misconception sometimes. And I walked into Sephora with my resume, and I'll never forget my girl Sarah. If Sarah's watching, I love you, girl. She was a manager at the time, and I had walked up to her and asked if there was any positions available, and she was like, actually, we're looking for holiday. So I really feel like this time of year is the best time to get into Sephora when they're hiring for holiday hire. Because it is a temporary position, but you do have an opportunity to get hired on if you do a really great job. Like, that's what happened to me. I got hired on, and then I just continued to work at Sephora for a couple years. So the interview process was a group interview. I don't know if that will be the same for everyone. Mine was a group interview. I do believe this was a while ago. I'm pretty sure we had 2 interviews. Yeah, I think we had 1 group interview. I'm pretty sure I met with management for another interview, and then was called and let know that I received the position. And then training has changed over the years for people. I had like a big group session, group training session that was like a whole weekend day long where we went over a lot of the basics, and then over time I got more training. Now I know their training system now is a little bit different. I know that they do a lot of in-house training, like before work or after work, with an education lead, which is a manager that is focused on educating, if that makes sense. So it may be different now, but there is some great training, and I will give props to Sephora for their really great education. They are very focused on making sure you know your stuff, that you're not just like, walking around not knowing what you're doing. There are other places, I'm not gonna say where, that you feel like you can't trust what they're telling you. Sometimes I feel like I know way more than they do at this other makeup place. I won't say because I don't want to diss anybody, but you probably know what I'm talking about. Sephora, is not like that. 9 times out of 10, you're gonna have someone, if you ask them a question, they're gonna know what they're talking about, hopefully. I really strived to know my stuff. I want to say another word, but you know what I mean. When a customer asked me a question, if I didn't know it, I would make sure to find that out. But that's the kind of customer service I wanted to bring in Sephora. I'm sure there's gonna be experiences that are not so great, but I will say for the most part, my store was super knowledgeable and was very focused on education, and I really appreciated that. So when I first started, the store was predominantly all women except for one guy. I freaking loved him. He was not like flamboyant. He didn't wear makeup or anything, which I would have loved that. I don't care about that at all. But he was like just working at Sephora. I just decided to work at Sephora one day. He had huge gauges. He was awesome. So I got along with him really well. I got along with a couple of the girls really well right away. Mostly management at first, and then some of the girls kind of started warming up to me. It's hard when you go into an environment like makeup, like cosmetics or fashion or something like that, because of course people are gonna first off be like, who's this bitch, you know, like you're gonna have a little bit of attitude with some people at first because it's like you're on their turf and they kind of have to feel you out. But if you are just yourself and you present yourself in the best way possible, 9 times out of 10, you'll start forming bonds with people. Now, I've heard of a lot of situations in Sephora and other cosmetic stores. That's not the case. They're all catty, they're all bitchy, and it's just a horrible environment. I will say I was lucky that that was not the case with me at my Sephora. We were like a little family, and most of the women I got along with really well. And I had fun working at Sephora, so much fun. Now, there are a few things that were not so great. So my first year working there, the management that I started out with, the store director, she was not so great. She made all of us highly stressed out. She was very sarcastic, but in a way that you were like, was she being mean there, or was she trying to be funny? Like, I can't read people that are super sarcastic sometimes, so she would say something and I was like, was she serious? I never wanted to work with her. If I saw my shift and I saw that I was on the shift with her and that she was gonna be the one that was on the floor, like on stage, pretty much not in the back, but you know, with us, I was so stressed and panicking. That's how, she just had this bad energy, unfortunately. I mean, she could be fun, but it's just that kind of person that for a store director, it was not a positive energy, and she kind of, if she was around, the people that I really liked and connected to, sometimes they would tend to start having her attitude when she was around, and that was like, it was really negative and I didn't like it. And she said really inappropriate things about clients coming in, like she would judge people, and it was horrible. I was not about that life. I just tried to stay far away from her and not talk to her as much as possible because it was very uncomfortable. Thankfully, I had other amazing managers that I could talk to and felt comfortable with, so that didn't make me want to leave Sephora. And this was during holiday too, so we were mega busy. It is so hard to work in retail at the holidays. It's so busy, but it's actually kind of good because shifts go by like this, like it's so fast. At that time I was not a certified artist, so I wasn't doing makeovers. I was doing like foundation matches, I was helping people, I was on the floor of color. Color is the makeup area. There's a couple different areas you can work in Sephora. There's skincare, hair care, beauty studio, which is where you do the makeovers, color, did I miss anything? And fragrance wall. Fragrance wall is hell. I hate being on a fragrance wall, by the way. I don't think anyone likes being on fragrance wall. You're like literally, like you have to be in your designated area, and if you're stuck at fragrance wall and someone comes up to you and asks you a question about makeup, like, can you tell me where blah 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 is? You can't leave your station. So yeah, I'll go back to that in a second. But anyways, there's also cash wrap and greeter. Greeter is where they hand the basket to you. They just say, hi, how are you? Can we help you with something? And then they're usually supposed to hand off to a color specialist, and that's mostly what I did, color. So after Holiday, I was hired on with one of the other girls that did Holiday with me, and we are still good friends. I don't want to mention any names on here just in case people don't want me to. But we're still good friends. She still works there, and I love, like, well, she works at a different store now, but anyways, I love her. So I was super excited to get hired on. Oh, before I was hired on too, we didn't have our own costume yet when we were Holiday hire, and costume is like what we wore, like the Star Trek outfit, you know. I actually liked my costume. I didn't mind it. But a lot of people hate it. But so we just had to wear all black, and I hated that. I didn't feel a part of the team. And so once I got my costume and like my little name tag, I was like in heaven. I felt like I was Sephora once I had my costume. So at that point I was already integrated, and we get education every single day, or they're supposed to. Do like educational videos right when you start your shift, or you get like a little education from a trainer, like a manager that's doing education. Or there's a lot of the time there's reps that come to the store and train us on new products coming out. So I always love that. Like, you always want to be able to get to train with them because it's just more knowledge, and I loved just knowing everything. Skincare, it was something I had to struggle and learn a little bit over time, but makeup, I was so passionate about it that I just wanted to know, like, okay. So getting back to the management, there was like a big drama. And it had come out, like a couple people were complaining about her and saying some, you know, just expressing their concern, I should say. So like the bigwigs came out and interviewed all of us, and then she ended up being replaced. And oh my gosh, our store dynamic changed like that overnight. So much more positive energy. It's amazing how management, like a store director, and the people you work with can change your environment so much and your experience working somewhere. And I know I would not have lasted as long as I did working at Sephora if it wasn't for the people that I worked with and that positive energy that we had. And we were just booming. That year that we had the new manager, she was freaking amazing. She had the best, like, bubbly, warm personality. She was very approachable, and our store just shot up. Like, we have sales goals. If you work for Sephora, you have monthly sales goals, and it's specific to your store, and you bonus as a team. So if you meet those specific goals, then you bonus together, which I did like, because then you're not in competition with one another. You can work together to bonus together. And depending on how many hours you worked, that determined how big your bonus was as well. So they did kind of, what's the right word, scale that to make it fair. So if you worked more, obviously you're going to be making more for the company and making more for the store to help that sales goal. So it makes sense that they would get more bonus. So that was pretty fair. So everything was good. We were like bonusing like crazy. Our store was growing. We were doing awesome. And then they had to go and make another change. And because that manager was doing so good at our store, they decided to switch managers from another store. Now, not saying that this next manager, my third manager that I had, was a bad manager. Not at all. She was very nice. But our dynamic definitely changed. We actually had a couple managers change over, not just the store director. So just the environment changed a lot, and that kind of made it less desirable. Like, depending on who you worked with, you were excited or you weren't to work that day. And I feel like that's pretty similar to a lot of what I've heard from other people that have worked at other stores at Sephora, that it's really about who you work with in your environment. So it did change a bit, and that's when it started getting, like, some changes started happening in the store, and I won't get into every little thing, but it just was becoming a little different. But I still loved my job because I loved you guys, the people that came in, and the people I got to work with. Oh, and I forgot to mention, year 2? No. Think only like 6 months in, I got certified as a certified makeup artist. That was stressful, let me tell you. There was some training involved in that, and then I had to do this like test where they watched you, like you had to bring a model in. My mom came with me, and I don't know if I was vlogging then. I don't think I was. This is even before I started vlogging. and like you had to do specific things on them, and they had to look at it and inspect it, and if they like thought you did a good job, then you were going to be certified. So it was highly stressful, but I was so excited when I got certified. You don't get more money, let's be clear, when you're a certified artist. So yeah, but I wish that they honestly had like, if you're certified, then you get a raise. If you're beauty studio captain, which is someone that, you know, facilitates and looks over the beauty studio, you should get a raise. Like, these are elevated roles that should be really focused on, that they're special and they should be given a raise. We won't get into that because that's a whole nother story. But because I was a certified artist, I started being able to do 45-minute makeovers. And that was so much fun. I learned so much doing that. Now, yes, it can be stressful if you're doing like a bride's makeup or prom makeup or something that's really important to someone. I obviously want them to feel their best and look their best. So I was the kind of person that did the makeover in increments, you know, like levels is more like it. Like, okay, this is one level. Is that deep enough for you? If not, then I would gradually build on it. That's like one tip I can give you working at Sephora as an artist. Don't just go, if they say smoky eye, just don't go bam, like big bold smoky eye, because smoky eye is so different to so many people. All the makeup artists watching this right now are like, yeah, okay, Melissa, I already know that. But someone that's just starting out at Sephora, that's like a big tip I would give you, is everyone's idea of what a smoky eye is, or what a bold lip is, or what brows and blush should look like. They're all different. So it's really good to get examples from people to see what they're actually looking for. But because I was a certified artist, I tended to do a lot more makeovers, and that can sometimes be stressful because sometimes you might miss your break, or like you aren't able to interact as much with people, and that's what I loved. Like, I really loved walking around helping people, not just doing makeovers. So I feel like it was better when there was a balance, and some days we didn't have enough artists on the floor and you just had to bang it out, like, you know, every hour. Especially at holiday, prom time, Halloween. You just have to go with it, and you have to be able to adjust to change, or you won't be able to work at Sephora. Because things are constantly changing. You have to be able to adapt. Okay, so why I quit. There was many times I thought about quitting. Because of the management changing, hours getting cut. That's a big deal in retail in general. I feel like they'll do on-call times and then cut you early if they're not making enough that day. And we all got bills, folks. So when you didn't get enough hours or you got crap hours, it sucked. And a lot of the time I worked weekends because I was a certified artist, and that's when they need the artists to do makeovers on the weekend. So I worked pretty much every single weekend. So be prepared for that if you're wanting to work for Sephora or any makeup place pretty much. You're gonna probably work weekends. And speaking of the hours, this is another thing that kind of frustrated a lot of us. I don't know if they've improved this or tried to, I know they've tried to improve it so many times when I worked there but never worked, is them getting our schedule to us on time. You're supposed to get your schedule at least a week ahead of when they're doing the schedule for. So say next week schedule, was supposed to get it Wednesday the week before. Well, 9 times out of 10 that didn't happen. We're getting our schedule like the day before. And that really sucks because then you can't plan for things. You know, it's just not fun to live week to week like that, not knowing what your schedule's gonna be. So I really hope that they've gotten better at being organized with that, getting the schedule out faster, and being like just on top of that, because that was a big struggle. And that was probably one of the most frustrating things working at Sephora and retailing. The other thing about the schedule that was frustrating, it's like who they gave more hours to, how they decided that, I don't know. Like, they say it's by like who's full-time, partial full-time, and part-time. Partial full-time, I was there, that category where I got 30 plus hours a week. They had to give me 30 hours to keep that partial part-time. But if you're part-time, forget it. They just give you whatever the freak is left over, I feel like. So yeah, that was kind of, sometimes it was frustrating if you didn't get enough hours and that whole situation. So getting back to why I quit. So I had contemplated quitting probably 6 months before I actually did. I was looking into other makeup avenues, like I was gonna work for cosmetics. But then I just kept, I don't know what, Sephora just kept pulling me back in, because I would go to work and I'm like, no, I love doing this. Like, I love helping people. I love working here. So no, I'm not gonna leave. And I just would convince myself out of it. Like, I literally had a job with it, cosmetics down. Like, they gave me the job. But I was like, no, I'm gonna stay with Sephora a little while longer. And then something happened. So I became a Cover FX ambassador. Now, they don't have this program anymore. I'm not an ambassador for them anymore, but for a full year, I was an ambassador, which meant that I worked alongside Cover FX. All the new products coming out, they would send them to me first. I would do reviews on my channel, just pretty much, you know, promote their new products. So obviously I was super excited about this because I loved Cover FX. I still love Cover FX. And I already promoted them in my store. I promoted so many different brands. You know, I really focused on my client, what are their needs, and then go to the brand that I think best fits that. That's what's awesome about working for Sephora as well. You don't have to only go to one brand because you support that one brand. You have the whole store full of different amazing brands to suggest to that person. So that was amazing. That's why I think I loved working for them so much. I didn't have to recommend, like, say working for cosmetics, you're gonna have to recommend their brushes, their foundation, their concealer, their blushes. You're not gonna go to another brand, you're trying to sell that brand. But with Sephora, you can go to any. So anyways, I was obviously excited about it, and I talked about it with a few of my coworkers, including a manager. That manager mentioned it in a management meeting, and the new store director and one of the other managers had a huge reaction to that. Like, she was excited, the manager that told them, like, oh, Melissa's gonna be a Cover FX ambassador. And they're like, what? She can't do that. So here comes the drama. They said it was against the rules for me to be a part of another brand while working at Sephora. I understand that if I was working in the store as a rep for the company, but it was all through YouTube, nothing to do with going to different stores or selling it at Sephora as a rep. I was doing it through my YouTube channel. By the way, they always knew about my YouTube channel. It was never an issue. In fact, they all watched my channel and really supported me. They knew I got free products sent to me from many companies, not just Cover FX. But they said it could create a bias by receiving products from Cover FX. Which to me was a little ridiculous when they already knew I was getting product received from other companies, and I did not have a bias to those companies. In fact, it was beneficial to them because I knew about products before even Sephora told us about it. So it was very, very sad and frustrating. They gave me an ultimatum, and they told me I either had to pick Sephora or stop receiving product and cancel my contract with Cover FX. I struggled with it, like thought about it for a week or so, but I knew in my heart there was no way in hell I was giving up YouTube, giving up the opportunity to work with Cover FX, giving up products being sent to me, like, especially when it had been done for years and no one had any issue with it. Then all of a sudden it was an issue. So it's very, very, very frustrating, and it made me very upset because I know for a fact there's other people here on YouTube that work for Sephora, get products sent to them, they have no issues. And they were like, oh, well, give me those names. I'm like, heck no, I'm not gonna rat out other people so you can fire them or have them quit too. Like, no, I'm not doing that. So I didn't tell them any names, or I gave them that as an example though, like, this isn't fair. But they said they had to do it by person-to-person basis, and that was the decision they made. So I quit. I gave my notice. I was like, sorry, and they were shocked. I know they were, because I, like, embodied Sephora. I was Sephora. Like, I still love Sephora. I still shop there more than any other makeup place. I still give tons of support to the store that I worked at because it's very close to me. I love the girls that work there and the guys. So quitting was kind of forced upon me, but I feel like God forced my hand with this. Like, he felt that I would probably stay there forever if he didn't push me to do bigger and better things and to leave Sephora, because it was stressful, you know, it was very stressful at times, and it was time for me to leave. It really was. Even though I miss it at times and I think about going back working part-time, I still think about it to this day, going back just to work part-time. Oh, I didn't even speak about the gratis. You do get free products from brands. They give them to Sephora employees to try out. It's just free products, new products that are coming out, so we can speak to them to people coming in. Which I do miss that so much. That was really awesome. But, you know, it is what it is. So I know a lot of you were super curious about that because you knew I loved working there. I hope this answered some of your questions. I know this was hella rambly and really long, but if you have any questions, feel free to leave them down below. I might do like a second video, which would be like a Q&A on my time working at Sephora. So if I don't answer your questions below, it's because I'm going to do a separate video for it. So make sure to leave them all down below. I may answer them or I may do a second video. I love you guys so much. Please subscribe if you're new, and if you guys want me to do more story time videos, let me know. Like this video if you want me to do more. See you soon.